Chris Watts' case is a shocking example of a family annihilator, where a family member murders their loved ones. On August 13, 2018, Chris Watts murdered his pregnant wife Shanann and daughters Bella and Celeste in Frederick, Colorado. Over the next 48 hours, he lied to police and media, trying to deceive them about his involvement. One of the earliest red flags was when Chris Watts ran to meet police with no visible grief on his face. Typically, a person in distress would exhibit emotional pain, but Chris Watts' expression was neutral. This lack of emotional response is a common trait among sociopaths. During interrogation, Chris Watts talked about his family in the past tense, which is a subtle hint that he already knew they were dead. He used phrases like "they were" instead of "they are," indicating that he had already accepted their fate. When police showed him the neighbor's security footage of him loading the bodies into his truck, Chris Watts stood with his back to the video, avoiding eye contact. This behavior suggests that he was trying to distance himself from the evidence and avoid confronting his own guilt. In media interviews, Chris Watts smiled repeatedly while asking for his family to return, displaying what's known as duping delight. This is a psychological term that describes the pleasure a person derives from deceiving others. Chris Watts' smiles were a clear indication that he was enjoying the attention and the power to manipulate the situation. During interrogation, Chris Watts made repeated hand movements toward his neck, which is the same method he used to strangle Shanann. This unconscious gesture is a classic example of a nonverbal cue, revealing his true guilt. When his father Ronnie was brought into the interrogation room, Chris Watts finally cracked and confessed, but he gave a false story blaming Shanann for killing the girls. This initial confession was an attempt to deflect blame and maintain a facade of innocence. However, Chris Watts failed a polygraph test on all relevant questions, which further confirmed the investigators' suspicions. Polygraph tests are not foolproof, but in this case, the results supported the mounting evidence against Chris Watts. It wasn't until his 2019 prison confession that Chris Watts revealed the full extent of his crimes. He admitted to driving the girls alive to the oil field, where he eventually killed them. This admission provides a chilling insight into the mind of a family annihilator, who believed he could outsmart everyone and avoid accountability. The Chris Watts case is a disturbing example of how a person can deceive and manipulate others, even in the face of overwhelming evidence. By analyzing his lies, body language, and behavior, investigators were able to uncover the truth and bring him to justice. The case also highlights the importance of careful interrogation techniques and the use of psychological insights to decode the behavior of suspects. Family annihilators like Chris Watts often exhibit a distinct set of traits, including a lack of empathy, a tendency to manipulate others, and a grandiose sense of self-importance. They often believe they are above the law and can fool everyone, but in the end, their own guilt and deception are what lead to their downfall. The Chris Watts case serves as a reminder of the importance of careful observation and analysis in criminal investigations. By paying attention to the smallest details, from body language to verbal cues, investigators can uncover the truth and bring justice to the victims and their families. In the end, Chris Watts' lies and deception were ultimately his own undoing, revealing the darker aspects of human nature and the devastating consequences of unchecked ego and desire for control. The case will forever be etched in the public's consciousness as a shocking example of the evil that humans are capable of and the importance of seeking justice for the innocent.